Yeah. Halacha hey on page 166. Yeah, you weren't here last night. Afilu shama min anoshim. Even if you heard, we're continuing with our concepts of being mater agunos. Afilu shama min anoshim. You've heard from women. Omri mesu ishploni, that so and so died. Dayom, that suffices. Rabbi said, Afilu shama min atinokos. Even if you heard it from children. Omrim, we say, the children are saying, and not we are saying, they're saying, we're going to eulogize and bury so-and-so. Whether they intend to be matir or don't intend to be matir, now that's by Yisraelim. Whether they know that their statement will be relied upon to be matir this woman or not, regardless, we rely on their statement. By Yisraelim, until they have kavanah, in other words, on the contrary, we want them to have kavanah to be matir, we want them to be aware of what they're saying. Uvegoy, but by a goy it's the exact opposite. With goy we have principle, though it's not stated this way in Yerushalmi, it has to be mesiach lefi tumo, he has to be speaking innocently, without being aware that we are going to use him for halachic purposes, right?
This line of
one second. Uvegoyim miskabin ain't do so. If he knows he's using him for halachic purposes, his testimony is not valid testimony.
Omrim is like a different name for Tim's.
What?
When it says Omrim, that's a different case than the half a line before that.
What do you mean? If you show me the token of Tokos Omrim?
Show me Tinokos. Stop. Next thing. Omrim.
No.
The people say, Hare Anu.
No.
The Tinokos say,
the Tinokos saying, the children say we're going to bury the eulogize to bury him, yeah. Look at the Korbaneda. The children are saying we are going to go and eulogize and bury the guy.
Really?
Yeah, honest.
So we care about the kavanah of the children?
Well, not quite Tanakama. Ra'idim above it seems to hold that way, right?
No, the pasuk above was Shalom min anoshim on.
I understand.
Yeah. So
I understand. But what troubles me is the content. To say that we worry about kavanah by Tinokos.
According to Rabbi Ben Bava, unless Rabbi Ben.
Why should you even mention Ben Shalom Miskaven? Who cares?
No, the Lafuke a goy. A goy is the exact opposite.
I understand it. I can understand excluding a goy from an adult Jewish male.
Yeah.
Not excluding a goy from a minor Jewish male. It doesn't even jive.
Well, it's a minor Jew, no matter if it's male or female.
Male or female, doesn't make
right.
a difference.
I don't see what the big deal is.
It's just there isn't any syllogism. It's not logically comparable. That's why. It just the structure of this mission. It doesn't make sense.
We empathize with you, but we don't know what you're talking about. Yes. Okay. I'm sorry. I don't know what to do with your comments. Let's go on further. Shama kol hamakonanos. Miyabto. If he hears the voice of the mourning women mourning, bein amesim among the this person among the dead, ein edus kodem mezuz. No greater testimony than that. Mikaman terisei hamelach. Now that's something like commissioners. Some people who are in charge from the king's perspective. If they say Mace Pony so-and-so died, Nerak Pony so-and-so was killed, Emesim Zishto, it's not enough to marry off his wife. Me based in, and it's a big typo, it should be Shel Yisrael. If you hear from a Jewish court that we executed so-and-so, then Mace Ploni or Nerak Ploni or so-and-so died or so-and-so was killed, Messina Zishto, that suffices. Now, Avad Ploni, if they hear them saying that so-and-so was lost, and the next word says Nerag, but it's a mistake, it should be Natra Ploni. So-and-so was burnt. And a bone, he's no longer in the world. None of these things work. And all these things we don't trust whoever says it, that the fellow's dead. Why? Because the person says, Ava Ploni, a person is, they say so-and-so is lost. Ana Omer, I can interpret it, I can say, Rabach min alma, there's a whole bunch of different yourselves here, what the question Rabach is. Some say it means that he lost his Rebbe, and therefore he's lost. Others say he lost his Rabu. Rabu means his greatness. In other words, he was bankrupt, and that's why he's lost. So the bottom line is, you just say the word avad, it doesn't necessarily indicate death. So to natre ploini, they say so-and-so got burnt. Ana Omer, I say, Asrim ploini machol, he burnt up some food. Like he burnt up some calories, or in other words, he actually consumed food, or his food got burnt up in something, whatever it means, but doesn't necessarily mean that he died. Ploni enobolim, they say so-and-so's not in the world anymore. I say, tipach ruche, either tipach with the test would mean he became haughty, but it's probably supposed to be tipach with the top, which means his spirit departed him, meaning that he went insane. So enobolim means he's insane, not that actually anything, not anything to do with his being dead necessarily. Okay?
Just look at it more simplistic, that there's no body. If he's ovad or if he's burnt, there's no evidence.
Yeah, but if there was no evidence, but we knew that they were saying the guy died, so we would assume the guy is dead. We don't know if the guy's dead. That's besides the point here, okay? So we don't know that there's definitely a death. Okay, this is actually... On we go. That's really why I left my phone on before, because I was waiting for that call. That was too rough. Okay. It's actually a brilliant money-making move by the people who invented cell phones. It actually is really unnecessary, but it's such a taiva to use a cell phone. People just use it. It's amazing. It was a brilliant stroke of genius to invent the cell phone. Okay. Says more further. See, where are we now? Shakas Vilasa Biyam. What if a guy's boat sinks at sea? Do we assume he's dead? As he goes to the Tamar, goes like that, which is the Tamar Rav Versav, the Shem Rav goes like Rav Versav saying, Rav, Maisa Abasimi is Maisa so and so named person named Abasimi. Shashakas Vilasa Biyam, his boat sank at sea. Uloya Basocha. He wasn't there. So the average fact that his boat sunk doesn't mean he died. Well, again, so too, if somebody says his boat sunk at sea, it doesn't mean he's dead. Ezui miskavi. What is the case where a person has kavanah to be matir a woman, which is good by a Jew and bad by a goy? So Rabbi Yochanan Mar Kosh Maskin Lo Isha, Rabbi Yochanan says, any time they tell a person there's a woman involved, then he loses his status of mitziach bitumo. He's no longer innocent. He's already answering with the direct purpose of being matir this woman. Shimon Lord says, kosher showing us information, even if he doesn't know there's a woman involved, anytime we ask a direct question, so by Israel that's good, but by a guy, that's bad. You don't want to ask him a direct question, because then he'll answer what he thinks you want to hear. It's interesting that in the Bavli, the names are reversed. But it's attributed to Rabbi Yochanan here, it's attributed to Rabbi Shimon Lakish there, and vice versa. Okay? Amir Chagai, so therefore that's why you pass like Rabbi Shimon Lakish, because in the Bavli it's Rabbi Yochanan, so that's why you pass like it. Rabbi Shmuel Levi, Chagas the name Rabbi Shmuel Levi, Zochar Rebbe. Do you remember? It says here B'shlishi v'kamas keni, but the way the Mashbiach changed it, it should be B'shmoni v'chamishas keni u'mehem shloshim v'kama neviim. And this is an allusion to the Anshe Knesset Agdol. According to the Yerushalmi, the Anshe Knesset Agdol had 85 members, 30 of which were prophets. So it's as if it's exaggerating, saying all the time in the generation, like the Anshe Knesset Agdola, Shumatrisi Keneg Rabbi Yeshua, they were complaining against Rabbi Yeshua, biyad. They were making mechos with their hands. They're going, stop, or banging on the table. I don't know exactly what they're doing, but they were trying to prevent the Rabbi Shimon Lakish. They wanted to prevent them following the stringency of Shimon Lakish. That even if and just asking a direct question, we can't assume he's telling the truth. If you would not accept to back down, and he was machmir like Rishon Malakish, it has to be that the guy is not asked a direct question. Rabbi B'Shem Rab said, and look, Rabbi ben Bava, the halacha is not like Rabbi ben Bava, and therefore, B'Yisrael. I'm sorry, by Yisrael. In other words, even by Yisrael, he doesn't have to have kavana to be matir the woman. Even if he doesn't have kavana, so we still matir her. Does that make it better for you?
Well, the Mishnah there's a logical construct that's lacking in the Mishnah.
You say it with such fervor. I wish I could feel that.
No, it's like, the more I think about it, it's like, it's just not complicated.
Okay. Says more further. Umail the Milain Rabbanan Amin Kain, top of 167, pay down and up. The words of the rabbis say the same thing. That we don't have the Yisrael does not have to have dafka intent to be matir. The Rabbi Shmuel, Rabbi Avon, Rabbi Akiva, Barachim Sher, Rabbi Yassi, they all said, "Ain't both kim edim misa b'drishah hakira." One need not check the edim for death with drishah hakira with cross-examination. Now, it means they don't check with cross-examination. That means that we don't have to go cross-check what they're saying. They know they're being matir woman, and they know the gravity involved. So Maisa was a certain person came to testify to Rabbi Tarfon on a woman to
That statement itself.
Do you mind if I open a window? Is everybody mind if I open a window? It's a little bit stuffy here.
That statement itself means automatically that we're not taking Adas. If we're not doing Drisha V'Hakir, means we're not doing Adas.
Well, that's exactly what he's trying to prove. Correct.
Yeah, but in the previous Mishnahs, we
Thank
said
you.
that they do, maybe not Drisha V'Hakir, but they do ask details about...
Yeah, but they don't do Drisha V'Hakir. They don't have to cross-examine. Cross-examination has specific parameters. They don't have to do that. And that's her bringing proof here. So, she said he said to my son, how you want to testify this woman, she should be allowed to get remarried. Because it actually says the line before Shani says it probably should be Shatina say that she should be able to get married, not that she was married.
Leading question. It would never be in a court of law.
Yeah, actually probably should be Shatina say.
Leading the witness.
Cross-examination.
Lead the witness.
Only not on direct example.
Okay. So Amar Lo, so he said, listen, now here the gears is messed up, in the Bavli it's much better, but I'll try and deal with the gears here. There are obviously mix-ups here. Rabbi Monoya B'Shayara, he was with us in a caravan, Biarda Gai Solenu. And a ambush came down upon us. The Neatland, he, the guy, hung himself up by the hands, on a branch of an olive tree, he snapped it off, and he pursued the band of bandits. And the Chazan, he came back. So I said to him, is all this aids speaking. B'ni, my son, I praise you like a lion. Numelo, and he responded to me, you figured out my name very nicely. And he cried, I'm called in my city Yochanan ben Yonason Ari. That's my name in my city, Yochanan, the son of Yonason, the lion. Mikfar Shichla, from the city of Shichla. Amarti lo. So now, Rabbi Gamliel speaking. B'ni Yafel Marta, did you start to say his name properly? Yonason ben Yochanan Ari Mikfar Shichla. That's his name, Yonason ben Yochanan Aryeh. So he said, Amalisa, he said, no, lo kach amarti. He didn't say that. El Yochanan ben Yonason. The other way around. Yochanan, the son of Yonason, not Yonason, the son of Yochanan. Aryeh, the lion, Mikvar Shichlaya. Amarti lo. So Gamliel saying, I said to him, Valo kach amarti, did you say Yonason ben Yochanan? Ben Ari Mikvar Shichla? Amalisa said, no. Kachamati El Yoch Lo Kachamati El Yochanan ben Yonason Ari Mikvar Shichla. They both argued about the names of the fellow. Now, in any event, what was the Ikar testimony? The Ikar testimony was not about this incident in the desert, because the guy survived that incident, right? With the caravan. But rather, the Ikar testimony was la'achar yomim cholu meis, right? After the day, after this incident with the caravan, so he became sick and he died. This big gibor. So we see that but of Rabbi Tarfon didn't say do so. Rabbi Tarfon checked out his testimony, and they were allowed to marry his wife. So in any event, this is a question because we see Rabbi Tarfon did Drishas Chakiras, and one of them is symbolized by his exact assessing of the name, whether the name was being reported accurately. So it says Mara, so is the Taka need Edus on the Chakira says what?
That's what is the main part of the Drishas of Chakiras. Asking the Ada's name.
Well, it's part of probably the Chakiras, not of the Drishas. It's part and parcel when the testimony concerns who it was, so you have to know who it was.
You don't really care what the Adam's name, or you care about.
No, we're asking.
Who they observed.
Yeah, we're asking about the guy he observed. The mace. We're asking about Yonasan Yochum was the mace's name.
That's a watch.
He was the lion-hearted guy. Yeah, the mace was the lion-hearted guy, not the witness. The mace. Okay. So in any event. You have it though. I mean, he was in a caravan with this guy, and this guy in the caravan saved everybody's life. So the
Except at the time they were asking his name, he was very much alive.
right.
Why were they doing all that? Why were they doing that Drisha?
No, that's the Gemara itself is interjecting. Gamliel asked him twice or three times about the guy's name.
They
Okay.
didn't ask him, they were asking.
No, they didn't ask the guy in the trip, but Gamliel asked the witness now 2 or 3 times about the guy's name.
Because it sounds in the story
No,
like
right.
this was...
Right, that's not the case. So it ain't meant. So he thought. Yeah.
It would be Drishas, it would be Badikos. It would be the lowest one.
Yeah.
And all you care about is a takasha, not just, I mean, you could get something wrong, who cares?
Opinion?
In Badikos, in the lowest category of Badikos, then all
Yeah.
you care about is, he could even be saying something,
Yeah, but you need to know the guy's name in this case.
why?
Because otherwise, how are we going to Matir's wife? How are we going to know who his wife is? There's no body in front of us.
That's right, it's next soon.
Okay?
It's going to be fun learning Sanhedrin.
It's a it's critical.
I love Sanhedrin.
Okay, so Ubarak Rabbi Tarfon say do so. Rabbi Tarfon checked out the testimony. We see it's Ishto. So does that mean Nijishal Akira? Or name Rabbi Shumai Bakach, or maybe there was a certain reason here why he required that. Maybe something he was unsure of. Ashratai, so we found a brayso which says, Ein Bokim Edim Isa B'Jishal Akira. Yitakato do Jishal Akira on Edim of death. The Lok Rabbi Tarfon. Not like Rabbi Tarfon. The Rabbi Tarfon are Boki Edim Isa Jishal Akira. He's the one who says you do it. You don't have to do it. Okay, Edim Lo Aner. Testify that you saw
My whole problem with this whole, this is the last thing, my whole problem with this
Sably Netter. Sably Netter.
He complains about me.
is
The alter ego.
the focus is on Ade, Misa, plural, Ade,
Yeah.
yet, you know, why the formality of Ade? Who cares about Adim plural? It should be just Ade, because we're not talking about testimony. So why is it more so hung up on Ade Misa? Just repeating, Ade Misa. It should be Ade. We don't care about Ade.
I can't do anything about that one. It's a good point. It's like 8 Echonem and Bisurin, though.
Yeah, but you assume that you always
That-
want 2 witnesses.
No, but
Testimony.
here's just borrowed terminology. Because it goes like 8 Echonem and Bisurin. It's not really witnesses. It means that somebody who has credibility. Okay? The cloth a woman checks herself with is called what in Masechta Nida? It's called an aid, right?
Yeah.
So, is that a witness? They bring 2 cloths to court?
I guess you're right.
Okay? That's like Rav Chaim's joke. Rav Chaim Soloveitchik. I don't think Rav Chaim made very many jokes. But one of Rav Chaim's jokes, knowing the progeny, I don't think he made so many jokes. But one of Rav Chaim's jokes was that if you take his derech too far, then anytime you have a share of brachas, and you need panim chadoshos, what you'll do is you'll take a cigarette and burn it. As it says, the Gemara says on Efer that it's panim chadoshos bo'ulakan. It became something new. So then, so it's a brisker joke. So then, so panim chadoshos obviously can be taken to mean literally, and that works for share brachas. I mean, if it's used the same word, it must be the same gather. So that was his point, that you shouldn't assume that all words which are the same in Shas are precisely the same thing. Okay? Meet him, Lorna. You never heard the story. I'm sure it can be told over in more spectacular ways than I did, but you got the gist of it.
Bar never mentioned it in the 4 years I had him.
He never mentioned Panei Chadoshos. Okay. Meet him, Lorna. He testified by the light of a candle or a one in the light of the moon that you saw the dead body. Musina Baskal can marry off somebody on an echo. Echo means a voice which you hear without seeing a body. Mice Bechet Shemot Mara Roshar is a mice certain individual standing in the mountain. Varme said Ish Ploni, so and so, Ben Ish Ploni, the son of so and so, Mimakom Ploni from so and so place. Mace is dying, meaning himself. Hochu v'lo matzu shamarim, they couldn't find anybody there when they looked. Yisilos Ishto, they married off his wife. Why? Because we rely even on the voice. Shu Ma'aseh b'Talmud, Ma'aseh b'Talmud, Echad with somebody Shamar said, Ani Ish Ploni ben Ploni, I'm so and so, I'm so and so. The Shachani Nachosh, I've just been bitten by a snake. V'Arei Mace, I'm about to die. Hochu v'lo Yikura, they went and they couldn't recognize him. He was too bloated, I guess, or whatever. Yisilos Ishto, but nonetheless they married off his wife based on his say so.
It sounded like an apparition.
No, that's exactly the point. It's not an apparition.
But
We have to be sure it's not an apparition.
well, they heard something. Someone, I'm not sure what the word means. I guess.
A shade.
According to
It has to be-
it's a shame Mokom.
What?
Korbanina says it's a shame Mokom.
What is?
What he says, but someone.
Yeah, Talmud. No. Oh, you were translating Talmud as a reflection?
Yeah.
Oh, no, it's a place, yeah.
Oh.
Sorry, I didn't know what you're talking about.
Oh.
No, it's a place.
Big someone.
Yeah.
Oh.
Actually, it's in Mo Sur, the Chayad Mo Mitzel Talmon. I think it's a place there.
Yeah.
Maybe not. Or maybe there's not. Maybe it's like a Talmovis.
So what? No. So what does Admon mean?
Edom.
No way. Admon means the red one.
Yeah, Edom.
No, you're saying Edom. Admon there. This is not during Roman times.
This is the
This is the Middle Ages.
The Cleveland Indians.
No.
Yes.
Washington
Admon
Redskins.
Admon is the red one, because the red one, aside from the color aspect of it, it is sort of the anti-God. It is the being. It is the sun. Absolutely.
Give me a break.
No.
There are two the last pregnant Suvas. The last pregnant Suvas is he's on a high tonight. He's on a roll.
All I did was I got on the treadmill. That's the only thing.
The last pregnant Suvas is Shnei Dayanik Zelo Soyu Yerushalayim Admon v'Chano ben Avshalom. It was a dying Yerushalayim named Admon. Is he the anti whatever?
But that wasn't the time most Sur was written.
So, well, most was written means Edom. All right, not for now. Says what further. All right, Chidar said, Limdani Rabbi Yonason. Rabbi Yonason taught me that whenever they hear an echo, they have to see a human reflection, otherwise it's not valid. Rabbi Acham Chanina said, Tamatim learned over there, Misha Mushla before somebody was thrown into pit. Barmay said, Kol Shemehes Koli Ichtov Get Lishto. Anybody hears my voice should write a get to my wife. Hareli Ichtov Yitnu, they can write the get and they can give it over. Umar Rabbi Yedison said over there, V'Eichero Buvi Yashon, they have to see an outline person down there below, so I know it's not a shade, right? not a demon. Rabbi Yaakov Shem Rabbi Chaim Shem Rabbi Chanina said, Hoda Tema B'Soda. That's only in a field where you have to see reflection. Avo Be'ir, but in a city where there aren't too many shadim, Afilu Lo Bugir Shalom, even just heard a disembodied voice that they're actually seeing a shade, that's sufficient. Didn't we learn Misha Mushlach Babor? It says, what do you mean in the city it's sufficient even don't see an echo, don't see a reflection? Then say Misha Mushlach Badar, somebody was thrown into the pit, Varmar, and he said, Kol Misha Shametz Koli, anybody hears my voice, Yichtov get li ishti, or ishto, or ishti. You try to get from my wife, Hareza Yichtov Uviyitu, they can write and they can give. Umar Rabbi Yisrael said, Usharo Bugir Shalom, they have to see human reflection. So we see it's necessary to see human reflection. Rabbi Avun said, that's true by Boros and by Sodos, but not by the city. You know why? Because I'm Zikin, Matsuyim, but Boros, there are shadim in the pits, in the wells, Kedar Shem Matsuyim, so it's just like there are in the fields. Talmudin, we learned over there, Hamesis, Sehedion, somebody who seduces somebody else to worship Avodah Zarah. And he's a commoner, Vanisas, and the person who is seduced to worship Avodah Zarah, he's also a commoner. So it's a funny Gemara. The Gemara picks up in it and doesn't make it much better, but says, Chacham Lo, sounds like the Mesis and Nisas are only pshutim, are only simple people. Not Chachami. Why can a Chachami be a seducer for the person of Avodah Zarah? And why can a Chacham be seduced for Avodah Zarah? So that's referring to some comment. We came with Nisas, since he was able to be seduced, ain't the Chacham. He's an idiot. Right? We came with Nisas, we came with Shumesis, since he's a seducer, ain't the Chacham, he's not smart either. So, in any event,
He's smart enough to seduce somebody else.
yeah, but that's not smart. That's just, tactics. So what do you do in order to deceive him himself? We hide two witnesses. They are them human beings. In the inner house. We put him in the outer house. And we light a candle over him so in order that we should be able to see him, we show him his color and hear his voice. Also Ben Sato Belud, and that's what they did to Ben Sato and Lud. They hid two Talmidei Chachamim to hear him speak his terrible words. They reveal the basin Saklu, and then they brought the basin and they stoned him. So in any event, it should be no, alright, the coordinated transcription, but I don't think it's necessary. The question is that in any event, that there we need witnesses. How come over here we don't need witnesses? I would say you have to have two witnesses. It's not enough to hear his voice that he's being maces. Somebody has to go and see him being maces. Right? They have to see him actually missionizing.
It's a capital crime.
What?
It's a capital crime.
Well, over here we want to be mater and aguna, right? Isn't that a capital thing to do? So the question is why over there we need actually to see the guy. True, you can hide, but you have to see the guy. And here you don't need to see the guy. All you need to do is just hear his voice. What's the difference? Okay? So it says the Gemara, Shani, that's different. The Marni, I say, Af Achani. I would also say the same thing here. The Marni, I would have said Apochani. I would have also said the same thing over there, actually, even though it says over here means over there. But Zertach also would have got in units. Why are we not going units? Shlo Yivrach v'yelech lo v'yelech v'yasit zachem mimo. Units is the wrong word. And what I meant to say is that we wouldn't have to hide the Adam. That's what I mean to say. The stress is on the last wide line. It says, "V'vilu beisim sagu." They brought him to court, right? So why did they just kill him on the way? No, that's not the question either. Sorry, I get mixed up. The question is, why do we need Adim, who can see the maces, being maces, which is the indication, either somebody who can see the witnesses, see the Mesisim, the missionaries, missionizing people. Why need witnesses to see them? Just let witnesses overhear them. Because our mission said if they just overhear the guy saying he's dead, that suffices.
You're involving two people. One of them sees something, so you want to make sure who's who.
That's a nice shot, but it's supposed to have very different voices.
You don't.
Yeah, but the Gemara says a nicer shot. Close, but not quite. So it says Shelo Yivrach v'yelech lo v'yelech v'yotzi tzarchei mimo. You shouldn't go and be maces. Shouldn't flee and be maces other people. So, in other words, over here, if we told them, if we hold up a mic to somebody, you say, "Can you please say your name?" So what's he going to suspect? That we're on his trail, right? If we put Aiden behind the God there, then we don't have to ask him his name because they can recognize him by sight. If they just hear a verbal discussion, he has to be named by name because otherwise, what are they testifying? How do they know that the story they're being told is true? So therefore, since they have to, I'm getting perplexed looks. That's
Yeah, because you just said his voice is very distinctive. They'll know who he is. So they can recognize him by his voice.
They can't usually. They can either recognize him because of sight or because of he says, "I'm so and so." So Mason with the moment you're going to say, "I'm so and so," it smells a rat. He's not going to do it. If it was why they asked me to say my name, my father's name, I'm not in hiding. So therefore, I mean, yeah.
So the guy that's dying in the cave,
Yeah.
they recognized his voice?
Yeah. That's the assumption. That
But they don't recognize the voice of the Macy's.
No. They might recognize, but they can't rely on that.
Then it goes back to your original question: why can they rely on the voice of the guy that's dying in the cave?
They can rely on him.
Yeah, why can they in that case and not rely on the voice of the Macy's? That this is the guy, that this is the Macy's. Why is there coming?
Yeah,
That was
here's
your
a-
question.
Right. Okay, so we're going like, I'll tell you why, because we're going like, what's his name here? What is it? I don't know what I'm referring to. I thought somebody says here that you have to know the name. Somebody doesn't say that? No. But this must be the thing. You need to be able to recognize him in court. So the best thing to do is to see him.
All right, you have to recognize him in court
Right.
because there's an active case of skila. If he's guilty, you stone him.
Right.
If it's a nation you matter her to another man. I mean, so all right, there's a chance that she might be over on nation siege. She might not be, but you don't stone her. So there's no active process in based.
This reminds me of an old Ephraim Kishon story. Ephraim Kishon wrote a story about, one of the many stories he wrote is about a bank heist in Tel Aviv. So a bank heist in Tel Aviv, he wrote a story that, it's just obviously, it's a short fiction story he wrote. When the bank armored vehicles were robbed. So there were two guards in one vehicle, one less experienced, one more experienced. The less experienced one they were both unarmed. The less experienced one tried to convince the robbers, instead of stealing the money through the front door, to steal through the back door, because they had a gun mounted in the back, facing out, which couldn't face forward, but could face backward. And if the robbers are coming through the back, he could shoot them, right? The other guard, who was more experienced, he just sat there and cursed quietly Hungarian and didn't try and do anything, because he already knew it was useless. But the robbers knew better. That was the story. In any event, the idea is that if you're trying, the robbers obviously know they're not going to go to the back of the truck and open up the truck and get exposed to the machine gun. So the Macy's is not going to say his name, right? He's not going to say his name, because he's afraid, if I say my name, they're going to kill me. I don't see any aid him right now, so I can talk to this person and schmooze them up to try and missionize them, but I'm not going to say my name. But the guy who was trying to deliver a get to his wife, on the contrary, he must say his name in order to be able to have identity, because we're not going to find his body. So that's what he's saying. By Macy's, we can't do, instead of being machminadim, we can get him to say his name. But getting him to say his name is like trying to get the guy, the robber, to go in the back of the truck to face the machine gun. You understand what I'm trying to say? Does it make sense?
Yeah, so you don't want to arouse
his suspicions, right. If you to tell him to be worth your while to tell us your name, then it's going to arouse his suspicions. So therefore we don't say anything of that sort. Rather we just try to hate him. That's what it says here, again, the first word line. Shani Demarani. Here it's even that I say, Avhochani, that here, I should say the same thing, if I would say the same thing over here, that he should say his name, instead of being machmi'edim achar agoder, in order to see him, right, they should stand outside and just hear what's going on inside, right? You shouldn't run away and flee, right? Go and seduce others to worship Avodah Zarah. We learned over there. I maybe get, so it means get, but men gets lost. If he finds it right away, kosher, it's okay. Being lab, if you lose it for some time, it's possible. He's Walasar. What's immediately? As long as 3 people have not passed over there, because if 3 people have passed over there, we're afraid the get fell from somebody else. Over a guy, what if a guy passed there? Even one guy. Shmini Me'ado, it's here from here. Out of Barbachana, I see Gita brother get Bava Minani, he lost it. So one Arab found it and brought it back to him. And it came from the rabbis. But actually they said to get its kosher. If one guy passed it, it's still kosher, right? Because here one guy passed and he brought it back home to the guy who lost the get. So says more, maybe that's different. Name or simon alphabet. Maybe the reason he knew was his get because he had a simon in it. For locate tiny, we learn ain't says well, there you got there's a simon. For locate tiny, we learn ain't simon getting. There's no simon for a get. Getting are generic. There's no simon. There's more. No, there are simonim. Buddha, that would you say there's no simonim? Buddha should be tati a class. Sure. It's the guy that says there 2 or 3 lines in the get. How many lines do we actually put in the get?
9 to
12.
12.
Gematria get. Yes. But they didn't have that. They put as many lines as they needed. So therefore, if the guy says, the simon was 2 or 3 lines. When the get, that's 2 standards. It's not a good simon, right? Brahmacha, but where is the simon to get a valid simon? Let's say they put in 1 mapik. And remember that there's a mapik, which is a unique quality of that document. So then in that case we say that there's credibility, and I say that he can pick up the get and say this is my get, even though it was lost for some time.
You may have some things along the margins that to make it unique.
Let's get Makusha, they tied up the get. That was somebody signed each fold. Right. But that's not what we're talking about here. So anyway, so here maybe let's assume that the hay had a dot in it. Rabbi Yezer boy Raimona. Rabbi Yezer says Raimona. Hachalamu pasul. Why over here by the get do I say if it's possible if it's found whose animal was gone for more than 3 passers-by? Because Ani Omer say Shem Echad Yesham, maybe there was somebody there, or Yeshmo Kishmon, he had the same name. Both he had the same name and his wife had the same name. So if that's the case, of course we should say the same thing over here. Why do we trust the person saying his name, right? Maybe who's about to die and we'll never see him again. Maybe maybe there are other people of that name, right? So it says, let's take this further. Let's say they check the whole area, right? Was that Kishmo? They didn't find somebody with the same name in the entire city. Nobody had the same name as he and his wife, right? So why can we get back together in that same case, right? It must be an Ella, says here below, but it should be Ella Mishum Chaymer Chaya Barayis. The reason why, even if nobody has the same name, we don't get back together is because it's a Chumrah Barayis, so we don't give back stuff which came from which is a question of providing a rice, okay, access to a rice. So it says the Gemara, then we learn. Now this is what brings us full circle back to our sugya. If they went and they didn't find any people there, if you see when they look for a person, person's shouting from the top of the treetops. So we didn't find anybody there. Nonetheless, we see Ishto, the married his wife. Or in a case where they went and they couldn't recognize his area, that would work by get. But what about by the death? Maybe there's somebody else involved. So it says more. Amana said, the truth is, there's no such thing as Chomer Bar Rayis. There's Chomer Bar Rayis. There is Shemachim also in our Mishnah. And then until they see the guy dead and lying in the gutter, they should marry off his wife. We see the Chomer Bar Rayis is counter-indicated by the entire last parak of Yevamos, right? So the exact opposite of Chomer Bar Rayis, more Meko Bar Rayis. So why are we machmir by the get which got lost all of a sudden, that even if he has a siman in it, it's not an absolute siman, and if it's not found soon, that he can't get it back. So it says the Gemara, so it says Amar Le Raimono, Raimono said Kachamar Rabbi Shimi Barashi, but Barachi b'Shem Rabbi Bum Barachia is what he said. Really, we're talking about a case. You're right. There's no chomer by Arias. Alright, so why by a get are we afraid of more than 3 passers-by pass by? Because this guy had 2 gittin when he started out. It says of the other, but that's superfluous. Echad kosher, echad pasul. One was kosher, one was pasul. Of it is a kosher. Now he is a shlamil. He lost the kosher get, pasul, and he tossed the pasul get. So therefore, at the time that he finds the get, which he lost, shematzani omer pasul matzah. I say by that time that the get he found was a pasul one. Why is that? Because there's always possibilities, since he was holding one kosher, one pasul to begin with, that the get he finds is actually the pasul one. Because he lost the kosher one. Maybe the new one he finds the pasul one, so we can't allow him to use this as a proper get. Okay, is that clear?
Yeah, that's clear. But
no, it's not because of chomer bar rayis.
Okay.
It's because we're afraid that there was a second get.
All right, so maybe he lost the pasul one and found the kosher one.
Yeah, but it's a chance either way.
People pass by.
Right, so therefore, as long as they're passers by and they could switch and they could buy psulim, so therefore we can't take that chance. Says more, Amrabi Kiyakir said, Shirati Lunardor. When they went out to Nardor, Ibor Shana to make a leap year, Atzasi Nechema Ish Bardalo, I found Nechema Ish Bardalo. Armali said, he said, Shamati, but Nechema Ish Bardalo said to me, I heard, She'en Mesim Esa Isha Beretz Yisrael, P8 Echad. You don't marry off a woman in Eretz Yisrael based on one witness. El Yud Men Bava, nobody except Yud Men Bava. So Numesi, like Akiva said, V'chein Advar, it's not true. Amalei, so he said, who was this speaking? Nechemi Ishbadler. Ishbadler, I think it is in the Bible. Say them, Ishmi, my name. Atem yoidim shamdina zos mushubesh because you know this country is ruined by all sorts of bandits, and they can't come up to Eretz Yisrael. Never let you know Mekuban Miriam Gamliel Zokin. I have a tradition of Gamliel Zokin, the grandfather, the current Rabbi Gamliel. Shemesina Isha Piyedech, you can marry a woman based on one witness. Gamliel, when I came, actually after I heard it and stayed this over on Gamliel, Sarach Lidvorai. Oh no. Rabbi Akiva came back and told us over to Gamliel. Gamliel was very happy. When Gamliel was the grandson of the original Ran Gamliel, called Ran Gamliel Zokin. So, Varmai said, Matzinu Chaver Yehuda ben Bava. We found a opinion in consensus with that of Rabbi Yehuda ben Bava. I forget what Rabbi Yehuda ben Bava say. That even up he 8 echad works. Because Yehuda ben Bava said, beginning of the Mishnah said even 8 echad Eretz Yisrael works. So until they weren't doing Eretz Yisrael, until Rabbi Akiva came back with this testimony from the Chemi Ishbadlo that even Eretz Yisrael works. Okay? Nizkar and Gamliel himself, we told Barim, as he was remembering this, also Nizkar and Gamliel also remembered, Shenergu Harugim Betel Arza, people have been killed in Tel Arza, we see Rabbi Gamliel's Nishul saying, they'll marry off their wives, Api Eid Echad, based on one witness, since Gamliel himself remembered this, gradually they became accustomed to marry off women, even if it's a witness hearing from another witness. Repeat Isha, or hearing from the mouth of a woman. Repeat Shivchar, or from the mouth of a slave, as long as there's a call, we align that for the issue of Agunos. Okay, says more. Matzu Kasa Bishtar. No, this whole story is not brought down in the Bavli at all. Taisa alludes to it, but it's not brought down in the Bavli. Matzu Kasa Bishtar doesn't allude to it, he cites it. Matzu Kasa Bishtar, they found in a document, like a death certificate. Mace Ploni, so-and-so's dead. Narav Ploni, he was killed. Rabbi Yerushalmi Yevamos, they can marry him off based on the document. Boom Bar Kahana Amar, you can't marry him off based on the document because it's not true. Even though it doesn't have to be true, Adis, it has to be oral. It can't just be taken off a document. Okay? Masisim Messiah Day, Masisim Messiah Day. Right? There's a price for each one. Masnisa Messiah Rabbi Yirmiyah, the one of Rabbi Yirmiyah says that the star is enough. You don't need Adim. So that is Masnisa Messiah Rabbi Yirmiyah. Alpi Adim says based on witnesses. Alpi Ksavat, not based on their writing. One second.
So what if two Adim signed the document saying that this man is dead?
Yeah, that life. Sorry?
It appears that that's not permissible. You can't rely on that.
Right. Unless we know for sure that, well, say it again?
Two Adim
Yeah.
say we saw Phony dead.
Yeah.
And they write it down. Instead of
Right.
giving it orally, they put it in writing.
Right. Makes it worse according to Tanakama, right? That's correct. So well, I'm not sure. So were you asking a trick question?
No.
Is that explicit in the Gemara? It's explicit in the Gemara, right? That's what it says. I'm sorry for accusing you of a trick question, but it sounded too innocent. I mean, that's really what the Gemara is saying, right? If two people wrote it down, what?
I'm always innocent.
Okay, two people wrote it down, so then that's the machlokas. So it says the Gemara, right? It says based on witnesses. Not based on their writings. Not based on a translator, not based on an interpreter. Why is that? Rabbi Yirmiyah said, oh, I'm sorry. I'm in the middle of the raya. Rabbi Yirmiyah is the one who says you can marry somebody off based on the star. Okay, he says you can marry somebody off, but that's critical. Rabbi Yehuda says you can marry somebody else based on a star. So now, listen, I'm in the middle of the riot. Lo piksovan, it says in Mishnah you can't marry them off. It says a piedim, lo piksovan, not based on writing. Lo pimatur, not based on an interpreter. Lo pied, nor a witness based on another witness. None of these are any good, right? So it says, now, the Korah, it's right against Rabbi Yehuda, right? Because it says you can't do it based on writing. The Gemara continues, says, don't now we marry off when one witness says another witness, I heard Yankel say that Shmulik's dead, right? The Kava saw, and so too now that we undermine that part of the Mishnah, we also undermine the whole part of the Mishnah. So the raya is, if we undermine one part of the Mishnah, which prohibits A, and we also undermine the other part, which prohibits B, must be mutter. The other one, there's a price which is right to Ibum Bar Kahana. You have a koch edim mikoch a star, which says it's better to have edim than a star. The koch a star mikoch edim, better to have a star than edim. How is that? Edim shamu meis ploni. A witness has said so and so died. Narrow ploni, so and so was killed. The Sinisi can marry off his wife. Matu kasab star meis ploni. They found written in a document so and so died. Narrow ploni, so and so was killed. Amos he can't marry off his wife, right? So that way, star is Adam is better than star. On the other hand, you have a koch a star, mi koch Adam. One will expect star is better than Adam. Totally out of left field. May do with Yevamos. Shamav chaver Adam. Somebody who lends money to his friend with witnesses. It's not enough. He only collect from free and clear property. For star, if he loaned his friend with a document, they can even collect from property which is on the lien. So one way star is better, one way star is worse. The way star is worse is that Edom are better when it comes to being matir, a woman. You need to have an aid, even one aid, but you can't have a star. So very basic machlokas, really very basic machlokas, and really is not brought down in the Bible at all. So obviously all the Achronim are going to grapple with it. How do we paskin? Do we paskin that if it says in the star, you get a death certificate from the army? Is that sufficient or not sufficient? And that's obviously going to be based on the sugi. And the mice, I think they do rely on death certificates. Pretty sure they do. Okay? I grab here. Says the Mishnah further. Still, it says you can't marry one based on one witness. You can marry law pi'isha, law pi'krovi, not based on a woman, not based on relatives. It says, well, what are you talking about? We learned huxakulias masin, ein pi'isha, v'ishmi pi'isha. We marry women off based on a witness in the name of another witness, a witness in the name of a woman from another woman, from a slave, shivcha, a woman slave, pikroivim, relatives, you say don't even do it. This Mishnah is like Mishnah Rishonah before the previous Mishnah where Nechemi Ishbadlo sent us the message that now we're matir al pi Yerechon. Amalei said, Maisa v'ivnei Levi is a Maisa of the people of Levi, certain family of Levi. Shaul so they went to Tzor Ir, Tmarim Yericho, v'chol echamem baderech, one of them got sick along the way. In Yechul b'Punduk, they left in a motel. Chaziras, and they came back on Pundakis, they said to the innkeeperette, Eya ayel chavereinu, where's our body? Numasayim, she said to them, Mace, he died. Kvartiv, I buried him. We see Zishta, they married off his wife. So we see even a Goya, I assume even a Goya, even a non-Jewish woman is okay. They said, Loteriko Kohenes Kipundikis. They said a Kohenes should be no worse than this innkeeper. In other words, if you lead an innkeeper, should be any woman. They said to him a likely story. When we believe an innkeeper then we'll believe a Kohenes. That was a special case. The reason why I believed her of this, she brought them out, his rod, his shoes, his backpack, the Sefer Torah She'Biyodo, and the Sefer Torah which he had in his hand. So that's how I believe her, but normally we don't believe a woman, certainly not an innkeeperess. Says more Pundakis Hotzila Maklu Minol Antos of Sefer Torah She'Biyodo. Rabbi Yaakov B'Shem Rabbi Chanina said, name Rabbi Chanina, because of that, also so kechaya. Very interesting thing. So they made her like a midwife. She nemenis al asar. A midwife is believed at the time of birth to say who the mother was. She's not believed more than 7 days, but at the time of 7 days, she's believed to say who the mother was. Why is that? Because it's her in her jurisdiction now. So too, when the innkeeperette shows up with his stick, his staff, then it's under her jurisdiction. So that's what we believe her for that amount of time. Okay.
She was honest enough to keep it, not sell it.
Right. That's what shows her expertise too. Bar Sutz said, no, it's not the reason. Rather, also so goy mesiach vitumo. They made the innkeeperette as a goy mesiach vitumo, meaning, we'll see. A certain person from Ariston, I guess the name of a place. Oh no, the commentator says a person who's like a chef. He said in front of Raimana, "Leisa da poil Shimon Lakish, how he calls mesiach vitumo." This doesn't say Shimon Lakish. The Shimon Lakish are kosher showing us over Umeshiv. Anytime we ask the person a question, he responds. That's not mesiach vitumo anymore. And here they asked the innkeeperette a direct question. They asked her what happened to the guy. So it says more, Einachanami, Leis Kain, it's taka not according to Shimon Lakish, we can't call Mesiach Vitumo. Kihida Amar Rabbi Shmuel bar Sustra. Rather, must be like Rabbi Shmuel bar Sustra said, which is that you can't say like Rishon B'Sustra. Leisa Kid Rishon B'Sustra. Can't Rishon Losh not be able to say it's like Goy B'Silch V'Tumah. Is can Rishon Losh not be say Kahida Mar Rabbi Chanina. Rabbi Chanina said also so Kechaya that they made her like a midwife. She nemenis al asar. It would talk if we ask her a question. The Kohen Reish Losh is not a Mesiach V'Tumah anymore. So when Rabbi Yochanan before that she's a Mesiach V'Tumah unless we ask her directly about a woman about being mater and isha. But if you hold like a Shimon Lakish, have to say like the other answer to the Gemara, not that she's considered Mesiach V'Tumah, but she's considered to be like a midwife at the time when the woman is still in the jurisdiction. Okay? I think that's it. I was going to start Ksuvas tonight, but it's late already. Like a little bit of